What's going on, family? What's going on? What's going on? I just wanted to come drop this quick video real quick. I'm not gonna be on here all night. I got work in the morning, so I just wanted to drop this video real quick. I wanted to go live with you guys just to see, you know, who on the family was up at this time of night and, just tap in with you guys, seeing what's going on with you guys. But I wanted to talk about revenge and what stopped me from actually taking revenge into my own hands. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get right into the video. So basically, what stopped me from taking revenge on a narcissist when I was actually in the narcissistic relationship. And first of all, I want you guys to know that revenge is seeking revenge or wanting to, have some type of karma or some type of get back with the narcissist is absolutely normal. I want you guys to know that because some of you guys I know probably feel very guilty about feeling revengeful and all of that kind of stuff from dealing with narcissistic abuse, but it's totally absolutely normal when somebody has like literally ripped your heart out, ripped your soul out, and not on, and just tore your family apart and all of that kind of stuff. You definitely want revenge. Like you definitely want to seek some sort of revenge. But I wanted to drop this live real quick because I wanted to give you guys the thought process of why I didn't take that revenge, because I definitely felt I felt like I wanted to, you know, um, go get some get back in that situation. Like I really was to a point where, and I'm not even sure if we could say certain words on YouTube, but I definitely wanted some get back in that situation, not only for the narcissist, but for the family of the narcissist, because I felt like not only did they enable it, but they also, it was like a level of disrespect that I received not only from the narcissist, but from a lot of her family members as well. So I had gotten to that point where I really was ready to throw it all away. I was really ready to, like, listen. I mean, it's certain things like throughout my life, I I knew I had a certain temperament about myself, and I grew up in an environment where you had to have a certain temperament about yourself just to have any type of survivability. And with me knowing that about myself, it's like I wanted to react in a certain type of way. I definitely wanted to put some pressure in the life of not only the narcissist, but her family and her loved ones and all of the flying monkeys and all of the everybody that was involved in the situation. I really felt like I wanted to get some type of get back. But what ended up happening was like, okay, so as I started going through my healing journey and as I started learning about what I was dealing with with narcissism and just all of the abuse and everything that came along with it, I started to actually realize that it definitely is a spiritual battle. It's definitely a spiritual journey, and it caused me to like go back and think about my childhood. And one of the things that I can definitely attribute to my dad and my upbringing is that he always taught me to never be an aggressor. Like always stand up for yourself, but don't never be the type of person that's a bully. Like going out looking for trouble, looking for problems, and all of that kind of stuff. So I remember I'll go back to my childhood, and there's one incident where there was a friend of mine. He was actually a friend of mine. It's going to be a roundabout story, but I'm going to get to the point. But basically, I had a young man that was a friend of mine back in like, elementary school, maybe fourth or fifth grade or something like that, maybe fifth grade. And This friend actually had stole. I used to play a lot of sports, and back in the 80s and early 90s and things like that, if you guys remember, if you guys are anywhere around my age, somewhere around 40, 39 years old, 40 years old, um, wristbands, like when the athletic wristbands were like really popular back then, the headbands and the wristbands and all of that kind of stuff. So um, I had I was playing for a particular basketball team, and my mother had just went and purchased all of these wristbands and headbands and all of that kind of stuff for me for the basketball season. Now, what did I do as a child? I want to show them off because in the 80s, they were cool back then. You know what I'm saying? So in the 80s and like the early 90s when I was a child, they were really cool back then. Like everybody wanted them. So I took mine to school. And when I took mine to school, I ended up like leaving them on my desk and went to recess or something. And when I came back, this particular friend had taken them and he had stolen them from me. And I was, I knew at that time that I had the propensity for violence because I grew up in a violent nature. Like I grew up in a violent home, and I grew, and not only just was my home violent, but my environment was violent. So it was, just from like the lessons that I had been taught from my environment, it was like you got to do something about that. Like he took something from you, you got to take that back, or you got to, enforce your will on the situation or whatever the case may be. So, of course, I see the guy, and he's a friend of mine, so I'm giving him a chance. I'm giving him an opportunity because he's literally a friend of mine. We grew up in the same neighborhood and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm like, listen, his name was Jimmy, man. Hey, Jimmy, if you catch this video, man, look, I apologize to you, man. Salute. It ain't no love lost. This was back in elementary school. I just wanted to get this story out to my fans and my followers. It's no slight to you at all. Much love to you. I hope you're doing well in life and, all of that kind of stuff. But basically, Jimmy had stole my wristbands. And I had that type of mother. My mother was like, listen, I spent my good money for that. I spent my good hard-earned money for X, Y, and Z. And, you just take it to school and let somebody take it from you and all of that kind of stuff. So I had the pressure of not really wanting to tell my mother what happened. Like I didn't want to tell my mother a lie, but at the same time, I didn't want to tell her that I was careless with the stuff that she had actually bought me and all of that kind of stuff. And I knew that he took it. So my whole thing was, listen, no harm, no foul. You took it, give it back, and we'll call it even right there. Okay. So that's my mindset at the time of like, oh, listen, I don't want to, take it to a place where it's gonna cause friction or none of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I'm not gonna let you take advantage of me either. So this is the mindset that I had even like in fourth, fifth grade. Like you're not gonna take advantage of me. You're not, I'm a I'm a rock with you, and I'm a try to do my best to salvage the situation. But if your stance is going to be disrespect, and I'm gonna lead with disrespect as well. So I go to Jimmy, and I'm like, Jimmy, listen, I know you got my wristbands, this, that, and the third. Now, he never denied that he took them. He never denied, he never said, hey, I stole them, I took them, I'm the one that, none of that kind of stuff. He never denied it, never, So when I approach him, I'm like, Jimmy, where's my stuff? And he's giving me all these different excuses and all of that kind of stuff. So a day goes past. The next day, I'm like, Jimmy, where's my wristbands and all of that kind of stuff? Oh yeah, I'm gonna bring them back. He's giving me all types of excuses and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm telling him like, listen, it's not but so long that I'm going, keep asking you, because it's not that I'm really wanting to put the pressure on him, but every time I go home, my mother is putting the pressure on me. She putting the pressure on me like, listen, I paid my good money for that, and you just like I said, you was careless and you took that to school and you let one of your little friends take it from you or whatever the case may be. And so again, now I'm feeling like, well, listen, I can't go back home and deal with that pressure from moms. So I got to put that pressure back on Jimmy. So a week goes past and I continue to ask, like, Jimmy, come on, man, Jimmy, like, bring me my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, just bring me my stuff. Just bring me my stuff, and it ain't gonna be nothing. So 2 weeks go past. Now we're leading into the Friday of the second week. So I catch him like on a Wednesday. And now I'm like fed up. I'm tired of asking him about it. I'm tired of going back and forth with him and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, listen, this Friday, there's like we elementary school, y'all. So you know what I'm saying? Just rock with me. So I'm like, listen, you know how back in the day, y'all, you catch your bully back, yeah, after school we gonna do, yeah. It was kind of like that. It was like I caught him in the hallway and I was like, listen, this Friday, if you don't have my stuff, if you don't have, whatever, like what you stole from me, then you know what's coming after that. Like, I'm gonna punish you. And so he's like, nah, I'm gonna have it, I'm gonna have it, I'm gonna have it. I'm like, all right, Jimmy, like, listen, I'm being serious. Like, if you don't have my stuff, I'm letting you know what's gonna happen. So, of course, that Friday hits. Friday hits. Jimmy comes into school. I catch him, and I actually catch him by himself. He's like walking to the bathroom. He goes out of class, he leaves, and he's walking to the bathroom. I just so happen to be in the same hallway, and it's literally nobody but me and him. So now I'm feeling like, number one, he's been disrespecting me for the last 2 weeks. My mother has been putting the pressure on me for the last 2 weeks of like, listen, I paid my good money for X, Y, and Z, and let this boy just go and take it. So now I'm feeling like now I have to enforce my hand. Like, now I have to put that pressure on Jimmy like that. So I see him, I catch him in the hallway, and he's walking down the hallway. Now, number one, Jimmy was a friend. And Jimmy and I grew up in the same neighborhood. So again, I'm thinking that we'll be able to talk it out, we'll be able to squash it and all of that kind of stuff. And I didn't think that it would actually go this far. But the fact that it got this far, now I couldn't turn back, because it's like, okay, I've given you ample opportunity to correct the situation. Now, if I allow you to get away with this, now, like I said, I grew up in a type of environment where once you show any type of weakness or any type of, you're gonna get you gonna get taken advantage of all the way across the board. So you have to stand up for yourself at some point. So this was like my real first test of vengeance, and just showing revenge and exercising that. So what ended up happening was I literally caught Jimmy in the hallway. We're walking down the hallway, and I catch him in the hallway, and I see him, and I'm like, Jimmy, what's up, man? What's good? And he's like, he trying to like walk off fast, and I'm like, nah, come here, and I catch up with him, and I'm like, listen, um, you know, it's Friday. You said you was gonna have my stuff by Friday, this, that, and the third. And like I said, we fourth, fifth grade. I'm maybe 11 or maybe 10, 11, 12 years old, something like that. So I ask him and I approach him. I'm like, Jimmy, you got my stuff? And he's like, nah, nah, nah. And I'm like, he's trying to give me all the excuses in the world. And I've been taking the excuses for the last week and a half, 2 weeks now. My mother is not going for the excuses. So I can't go back home another weekend, because this is Friday now. So I can't go back home another weekend and say, hey, Mom, I don't know, the kid that stole my stuff, I can't give her that excuse no more. So now I'm like, okay, it got to be some type of, punishment for what Jimmy had did, because he stole my stuff. So once he stole my stuff, like I said, I caught him in the hallway, and I'm like, Jimmy, what's up, man? I don't want to do this to you, but if I have to, I will. And he's like, nah, I got it. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it for you. And I said, nah, listen, I told you by Friday, like literally by today. Today is Friday. I need it now. And he didn't understand that I needed it right then and there. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't me wanting to put the pressure on him. It was me feeling the pressure from home and wanting to put the pressure on him because I didn't want to feel that pressure from home. So now Jimmy is like giving me all types of excuses, and I'm like, I'm now at this point, I'm not trying to hear none of it. So he's, he's pleading his case and pleading his case, and he's begging me like, no, 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 no. Now, in the moment, literally in that moment, I lost all, everything that I had in me, everything, all of my self-control and everything, and and I and I crushed Jimmy. And Jimmy wore glasses too, and he wore glasses, and I hit him right in the middle of his glasses, like right in the middle, and the glasses broke, and it broke off into his face, and it cut his face. And he ended up crying, like he's literally crying and crying and crying. Now, as kids, we are, when you get in trouble. Now I've turned into, now I'm the predator in that situation, I guess, but I've turned into, now I've turned into the victim, because now he's going and crying, and he's holding his face, and he's, "Ah," and he cried all the way, literally from the hallway that we were in, and he cried all the way to the principal's office. And I felt extreme. Number one, I'm saying that to say about vengeance and what I felt as far as karma, and not necessarily just karma, but I knew I had a conscience. I learned at that point at my life that my conscience wasn't built to be an aggressor on people. Like, my conscience was never built for that. I didn't have the type of conscience where I could actually, commit acts like that, repetitively and be okay with it, because it hurt me. Number one, because like I said, Jimmy and I were like really, really, really close friends, and we lived in the same neighborhood, and literally there was no real issue or problem between me and him. It was literally that he just stole my stuff, and I wanted it back because I was feeling that pressure from home, because, and rightfully so, like my mother did pay for her, she paid her money. My mother didn't have a lot of money when I was coming up and all of that kind of stuff, so she took her hard earned money and she bought me something, and I was careless with it. Now, in my carelessness, Jimmy ended up stealing from me, and he ended up, catching a rap for that. Now, like I said, Jimmy cried so hard. Like, when you're a kid and a kid cries so hard, and you just, like, I don't know if you guys have brothers or sisters or something, and you guys play fighting or something, you hit your sibling a little too hard, and you don't want them to tell your parents, so you like, oh, please, 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 please don't. That's kind of how I was with Jimmy. He's like, please don't tell, please don't, and I'm like begging him, like, please don't tell, please don't tell, please don't, please don't turn me into the principal's office. But of course, Jimmy went straight to the principal's office, and he snitched me out and all of that kind of stuff. Of course, he told on me, and they ended up calling the principal. Like, the principal's office ended up calling my mom's house and all of that kind of stuff, and letting them know what happened and all of that kind of stuff. But the point of all of that was me hitting Jimmy that day when I was that young. It didn't make me feel any better at all. It made me actually feel worse, because number one, I knew Jimmy wasn't built for that. I knew Jimmy wasn't built for, like, even though he stole my stuff, and I felt like at that time the principle of it is like, if you're not built like that, then you shouldn't do certain things. That's just like, people that's trying to live that street life now. It's like, if you can't handle the pressure of what's coming behind that, then it's literally like, don't do it. And that's kind of how I grew up. It's like, listen, if you can't handle what's coming behind that, then I suggest that you literally don't do whatever it is that you're about to do that's gonna get you, punished, or whatever the case may be. And so that ended up happening in that situation, and I punished Jimmy. And like I said, I cracked his glasses in the middle of his face. It caused a little scar and all of that kind of stuff. But I went home. In that moment, even in that moment, I didn't feel good about myself. You know, like I said, I'm 11, 12 years old. And as a child, I knew that even though he stole from me, I felt like I was wrong. I still felt like I was the aggressor in that situation. And my dad used to always push to me. He used to always say, like, listen, don't never be the aggressor. Don't never be a bully. Don't never, when you're going through school and, your interactions with people and all of that kind of stuff, never be a bully, never be a bully. And in that moment, I'm not going to lie, like, in that moment, I felt like a bully. Even though he stole something from me and even though he wronged me, I felt like a bully. And I felt like, I put some pressure on Jimmy that he really couldn't handle. He really didn't deserve the level of, like, the punishment didn't fit the crime. You know what I'm saying? Like, he stole some wristbands, which maybe cost $8 or something like that. And I done broke the boys' glasses that probably cost $300 or $500 at the time. Glasses are pretty expensive for those of you, that wear glasses. So, I done broke the boys' glasses for a pack of $8 wristbands and all of that kind of stuff. And I felt extremely bad about it at that time. And like I said, this was when I was 11 or 12 years old. So I knew right then and there that my conscience was set up different. You know what I'm saying? And I knew that I felt different about spiritually. I felt different spiritually in a lot of different ways. And now, after going through narcissistic abuse, I didn't realize that I was actually feeling the way that I felt because I was chosen. And any of you guys that have experienced narcissistic abuse, you guys probably have felt like are chosen. Like, either you are targeted or you are chosen. And most targeted people are chosen people. They're targeted for a reason. They're targeted by the devil for the reason of basically getting you off of whatever path that you're on, following God. Whatever God's plan for your life was, the devil wants to pretty much derail that. And I honestly feel like that's why the narcissist was sent into my life. The narcissist was sent into my life to derail that whole situation. But going back to vengeance, like, I literally felt so bad, and I knew my conscience wasn't set up. From that one instance of dealing with Jimmy and when he stole my stuff, I literally felt like from that point on, I got what my father was saying. I understood totally what my father was saying as far as, don't be the aggressor. Don't be the person that's actually, don't be the bully that's going out and seeking problems and all of that kind of stuff. And from that point on, I learned to play defense. Like, I learned, not only did I learn to play defense, but I started realizing that it was inevitably in me to play defense. Like, and when I say that, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the MBTI, like the personality traits and all of that kind of stuff. But after narcissistic abuse and after all of this kind of stuff, I found out that I was an INFJ. And the INFJ, one of the traits, one of the very high quality traits of the INFJ is that they have a very high sense of justice. So a lot of times, like, so just with that being said, like, just with my personality style, I'm a lot more protective of my loved ones than I am even of myself. So, like, somebody could come and approach me and, threaten me and that kind of stuff, and I'll kind of just laugh it off or whatever the case may be. But if somebody approaches and tries to, like, threaten my family members or one of my loved ones or that kind of thing, then it's like my protective nature goes into like an overdrive, and I'm more protective of my loved ones than I am of actually my own personal self. So, and that's another thing that kind of can set you up for narcissistic abuse, because if you're not showing that same love to yourself, then, and you're putting other people before you, then that's one of the ways that narcissists slip in. But just the fact that I had done that to Jimmy, and I knew that it hurt me bad. Like, it literally hurt me bad when I punched Jimmy in his face and broke his glasses and all of that kind of stuff. It hurt me bad to the point where it took me months. Like, I apologized to this boy like every single day, and he was over it. Like, he had been past it, and we were friends, and we were still playing again, and all of that kind of stuff. But I still literally felt extremely bad about that situation, because I felt like, like I said, number one, the punishment didn't fit the crime, and number two, I literally could have destroyed a friendship of somebody that I actually grew up with and all of that kind of stuff over a pack of $8 wristbands. And like I said, the punishment just didn't fit the crime, and it just wasn't worth it at that time to me. So again, from that point on, I never played offense again when it came down to that kind of thing. I always just played defense when it came down to the streets, and when it came to so I would never, I was always very humble, very, very respectful, all of that kind of stuff in the streets after that, because I knew what it felt like to have a guilty conscience about something that, especially that wasn't even worth it. So fast forwarding that now, the reason I gave you that whole story is because this entire time, since that one particular event, I've always played defense since then. So now we're getting into the situation with the narcissist. And fast forward in life, and I'm still, throughout my life, I've been playing defense. I've never aggressed on anybody or any of that kind of stuff. But when I went through narcissist abuse, and when not only was the narcissist very disrespectful to me and all of that kind of stuff, and I felt like they were tearing my life apart, but also tearing my son's opportunity for a better future than I had as a child. I felt like they were destroying both of us at the same time. And again, my protective nature, that's why I said, if you guys learn about your personality styles, I'm an INFJ. I'm more protective of my loved ones than I am of myself. So it wasn't even necessarily that my fight was because of myself. It was literally because I felt like my son didn't deserve this. So now I got ready to seek some type of revenge. You know what I'm saying? Like, not only on the narcissist, but her entire family. And where I'm from, like, we play a different type of way. You know what I'm saying? Like, we play a different type of way. You know what I'm saying? When things get thick like that, we really play a different type of way. And her brother had already disrespected me to the point where I felt like I have to do something, because I can't continue to allow, them to feel like they're going to continue to, do that to me over the course of years of me trying to raise my son inside of, their family structure, or, whatever they had going on. So I felt like it was imperative for me to stand my ground. But at the same time, I just always remembered when I played offense, and when I did that, even back in my elementary school days, I felt extremely, extremely bad about how it played out. And I wasn't the one that could live with the conscience of playing offense and going and, seeking out for somebody for revenge or whatever the case may be. And, another point of it was, I felt spiritually like, if I know that dealing with a narcissist, and I know that, at first I didn't know this. I didn't know that I was dealing with a narcissist at all. And then when I figured out that I was dealing with a narcissist, and I started putting the pieces together that this was spiritual, then I started going back to my childhood again. And I started realizing that I was chosen and God has been with me this whole time. And not only has God been with me this whole time, He's been literally protecting me throughout certain circumstances. It's been like a lot of, like, I honestly can sit back and think. And this used to scare me. I didn't used to tell a lot of people this. And I told my mother this the other day for the first time, that as a child, when I was coming up, a lot of my peaceful nature, like, you know what I'm saying, after that one situation with Jimmy, I never really had another physical altercation with anybody that wasn't, I'm not gonna say I didn't have any other physical altercations with people, because it definitely happened over the years, but it was never, it was always in a protective manner. Like I was, I was protecting my sister, or I was protecting one of my friends, or, so anything that happened after that situation from elementary school all the way throughout the rest of my life was always me being protective. And like I said, me playing defense now. Like now I've gotten to the point where defense comes naturally to me. And it's kind of, it can, it, it's kind of like a gift and a curse, because yeah, I avoid a lot of problems and things like that, but because a lot of people out here, they play offense, they take your kindness for weakness. Because if they're aggressive and you're showing that you're passive, then a lot of times they are going to take that as, okay, this person is weak and I can just run over them. And that's kind of how, like, the environment that I grew up in. So like I said, it was more so um, me feeling like God had been with me throughout all of those situations throughout my life. Like He had literally, every time I ever got into it with anybody, I just noticed that it was a certain protection over my life. And that's when I started realizing, like, okay, there's something different about me. And now that I've gone through narcissistic abuse and I'm learning about being the chosen one and all of that kind of stuff, I honestly feel like that's it's true. There are people that God has placed like a certain anointing on their life for a particular reason, and we have an assignment. It's not that we're better than anybody else or any of that kind of stuff. It's literally like God placed an assignment in our life because He felt like we had the skill set to carry it out for whatever reason. So with that being said, I felt like every time I had been attacked in my life, God made a way to protect me and kept me like in a bubble, to where everybody that had transgressed against me, something happened to him, and it used to scare me. Like it used to, I got into it with a couple guys in high school and stuff like that. And when I got into it with these guys, I'm thinking that it's gonna go crazy because of like a street type of situation. But something in me spiritually was saying, listen, you gotta let this go. You gotta let God handle this. And when I did that, it's like, and within months, literally within months, something terrible had happened to the people that had basically transgressed against me, and I didn't have to lift a finger. And that was a repetitive thing. That's not, it wasn't like that one time that happened. It was like literally like every time I got transgressed against, there was some type of intervention from God saying, I got you. Vengeance is mine. Vengeance is mine. Like, and I kept hearing that over and over and over. Now, when I got into the situation with the narcissist, and I had never experienced the level of disrespect, and I had never experienced like somebody playing with me to that level. To, like, I literally was. I can honestly say that I had homicidal thoughts when I first started discovering narcissism, and when I first started, like understanding what was happening to me. And not only was it happening to me from the narcissist, but like I said, her family structure was so strong in that situation that it was like, Oh, all of them think all of them think I'm sweet for. Okay, I'm about to show the whole family. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I had got to that point of like, I wanted to show revenge on the whole entire situation, and I, God will place certain people in your life for a reason. And I'm so glad that I had a very close friend that I had expressed that to. That I was like, listen, I'm about to throw it all away because I'm not seeing my son already. I'm not. I'm missing time with my son. And not only that, like her family's been completely disrespectful to me. It was just so much mess in the situation. If any of you guys dealt with a narcissist, you know how deep and how deep the waters run and how negative things can get when you're dealing with a narcissist. So um, all of that happened. Like I went through a lot with the narcissist and her entire family and all of the flying monkeys and all of that kind of stuff. And I had gotten to a point where I was literally ready to just take my revenge into my own hands. And as I started thinking back throughout my life, and I had this friend, this particular friend, like he's my uncle, but he's also somebody that I actually hang with. Like, so we actually hang out together and go places and all of that kind of stuff together. So he's talking to me, and he's like, and he's crossed that line before. Let's just put it like that. He's taken vengeance into his own hands, and he had a lot of insight from his experience from actually doing that, from him going to jail and having to, sit down on some manslaughter charges and all of that kind of stuff, from the same type of situation, protecting himself and protecting his family and stuff like that. And I had kind of ran it past him because I was just feeling like, listen, like this situation is getting unbearable. It's getting to the point where I'm ready to just throw it all away, man. I'm ready to hang it all up, and I'll sit down and go do my time. If I have to go to jail for it or whatever the case may be. And like I said, the reason that I'm doing this video is because I know a lot of you guys. It's something that's not really talked about in the community, but I know a lot of you guys have probably felt like wanting to get some type of revenge or wanting to take matters into your own hands when it came down to the narcissist, because the level of disrespect is so crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like the level of betrayal and disrespect and the stuff that they not only, and a lot of times they're trying to take your life. Like they've been poisoning people, and I've heard so many crazy stories of the things that the narcissist has done. So it doesn't shock me that you feel like you want to get revenge and all of that kind of stuff. But what I realized in my situation was God had me this whole time. He's been literally standing with me, holding my hand throughout my entire life, even in those times when I didn't realize he had me like that. Even in those times where I was, you know, completely not even checking for his, his favor on my life or any of that kind of stuff. I was living in, worldly situations and all of that kind of stuff, and he still held me and had me through all of that. And then so after dealing with the narcissist, I felt like this is the feeling that I got that made me stop feeling like I wanted to take revenge on the situation. And that feeling was, God has had me this whole time, and he's been standing with me this whole time. And so now, and not only has he had me this whole time, and he's shown me that he has been a part of my life and he's been a part of my journey this entire time, I really felt like taking vengeance into my own hands at that time was like disrespectful to God, and that's what made me come off of that. I felt like I was being disrespectful to God and what he said, because he said vengeance is his. And I felt like if I took it into my own hands, number one, I was showing him that I didn't have faith in the way that he could work the situation out. Number one. Number two, God knows exactly how to deal with your enemies. And we don't, that may not have done, like if I would have taken things into my own hands, number one, it may not have worked out in my favor. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that it couldn't have went left and something could have happened to me in that situation as well. Number one. And number two, like, God really has been there, and I feel like if you don't allow God to give, if you don't allow God to work the situation out, and you don't give the situation to Him, then how can you ever really say that you trust Him? How can you ever really say that you love and you appreciate His presence in your life and all of that kind of stuff? So I really felt like if I had taken any type of vengeance into my own hands, it was a slap in the face to God. Like, He looking at me like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like I would be judged worse because I know better. You see what I'm saying? Like, I felt like the narcissist may have done X, Y, and Z to me, but they're coming from a seared conscience, like a reprobate mind, to the point where they literally, you know, it's no good in them, it's no light in them. But because I know better, I felt like God gonna judge me differently in that situation. And not only that, He's gonna judge me differently in the situation because He's been showing me my entire life that He's been here and He's had me and He's been a part of my journey and all of that kind of stuff, and He's been protecting me. And I felt like me taking vengeance into my own hands literally was a disrespectful slap in the face to God. And once I started realizing that, it changed my whole entire thought process of wanting to take revenge on her family, the flying monkeys, any of that kind of stuff. And I literally let go and let God. I literally let go and I said, okay, God, obviously you got something better for me. It's obviously something because you saw what they did to me, and that's a prayer that I prayed about. I literally, God, you saw what they did to me. You saw, you saw how the enemy was working against me, and I need your blessings right now to protect me not only from spiritual warfare and just the enemy and the devil, the devil's attacks and all of that kind of stuff. But I wanted protection for myself so that I wouldn't go out and do nothing stupid and throw my whole life away, because you got to look at it like, now, my son already is at a disadvantage having a narcissist for a mother. And I felt like now, if I take vengeance on her family or vengeance on her or any of that type of stuff, now where does that leave my son? Where does, literally where now my son doesn't even have me to lean back on. And that was, like I said, it took everything in me. It took every part of me not to, retaliate in the way that I would normally, in the way that I wanted to. I wanted to, I wanted to do, man, listen, I wanted to do a lot, and I had to catch myself, and I'm glad I did, because number one, it wasn't worth it. Number two, again, me going back to the beginning of the video and talking about my conscience is, I know my conscience can't handle certain things if it's not warranted. So yeah, the narcissist hurt me, and the family was disrespectful and all of this, that, and the third. But again, that would have went against my whole concept of playing defense my whole life if I would have went and seeked and looked for that, and I would have went and chased that down. And that would have been, I feel like that was something that I would have had to pay for. I would have had to pay for my karma as well. So that's the thing about, and karma works both ways. I don't care how you look at it. It's like, if you take vengeance into your own hands, you got to deal with some of the karma that's going to come from that as well. So that's kind of like what my thought process was. I really felt like me taking vengeance into my own hands was a disrespect and a slap in the face to God. So I just wanted to drop this video real quick and go live with you guys just to see who else was online. I was up for a little while, so I just wanted to go live real quick. But yeah, that was my video about vengeance. I'm probably gonna drop another one, like an official video, instead of going live about it. But yeah, that's really where everything changed for me, and I'm hoping that it'll give you guys a little bit of insight, because I know some of you guys are at different, like I said, at different stages in your journey, and that helped me out a lot to change my concept of, listen, you got to allow God to do what he gonna do, and I don't care what punishment you think that you can find for the narcissist or any toxic person in your life. Is no comparison to what God can plan out. Like, we can't even see, we can't even really see what God's plans and what God's wrath is. So I knew as soon as I started looking at this from a spiritual standpoint, like, I have to let God deal with the devil. I can't fight the devil, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can flee from him, I can stay away from him, I can, and yeah, there's definitely certain defenses and stuff that you can put up to defend yourself from engaging with the devil. But at the same time, I feel like when principalities get involved, you need to call on him, and you need to actually let him guide you through the situation. And I felt like as much as the more and more that I tried to handle it on my own, the less and less effective I was in that situation. And that's the honest to God truth. I became a lot more strong when I let go and let God. Simple as that. So yeah, that was just my video real quick. I just wanted to tap in with you guys because I was up and I wanted to do some more lives and stuff with you guys. Hang on, let me see. Good morning, good morning. What's happening? Kyla. Yeah, God always protecting. Yep. Yeah, I mean, like I said, when it came down to it, I mean, I got to the point where I didn't care about the consequences of it. I literally didn't care about what happened after. And that was a dangerous situation to get in because I was so hurt that somebody, and not only, like I said, not only did the narcissist, but the family, like the whole entire family. And now I'm looking at it from the standpoint of my son has to live in that. My son has to grow up in that, in like a toxic environment to the point where, so I was ready to like end all of that so that my son wouldn't have to deal with none of that. And then in me really catching myself, then I had to realize like, yeah, that's a slippery slope. You know what I'm saying? Because if I take that into my own situation, if I take that into my own hands, then now he don't have me, now he don't have her, now he don't have the family. Like, that could have went a lot of different ways, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And that's what made me literally catch myself and let God handle his business. And I don't regret at all not taking vengeance into my own hands. So anybody that's at that point where you feel like you want to fight back and attack back and all of that kind of stuff, it's a natural feeling. Like, I definitely want you guys to realize, like, I get it. I get it. I totally understand. But I feel like it's not going to do any more good to your situation. Kyla, yep. When it gets unbearable, remove yourself. Absolutely. And to be honest, like, I'm at that point now where learning about boundaries and stuff like that. It's like even way before it gets unbearable. Like we got to start pulling out. We got to start pulling ourselves out of situations way before it gets unbearable. When we see those red flags and we see that people aren't good for us, then we got to start like adjusting then and stop waiting until it gets too late. So and I'm definitely, I'm guilty of that myself. Is to where I saw certain red flags, but I didn't think the red flags were bad enough for me to walk away from the situation, and they ended up being many previews to what was coming. So but all right, y'all. I'm out of here, man. I got to get up for work in the morning. I will talk to you. Much love for everybody that tapped into the live. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate each and every last one of you. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. I will be getting in contact with you guys soon. And if you haven't joined the Facebook group and you want to, man, we are Eradicating Knocks, the same name as the channel, and we're on Facebook. The link is in the description of the channel page. I will be coming out with a lot of new content and a lot more stuff, just to get some engagement on the channel and things like that. So I appreciate each and every last one of you guys, man. Love you guys so much. I will talk to y'all later.